But there was just a lot of real appreciation for our teammates. And that went a long way internally in our company for our teammates to see how much they were delivering for our clients in a time that was hard for them and a time that was hard for clients. So I thought that was a little counterintuitive just because a lot of the dialogue has been about digital and the drive to digital and the adoption of digital. And that was certainly key. But that personal touch had just as much of an impact during that time as well.
Welcome to Behind the Numbers Brand Anatomy, an all-new eMarketer podcast that looks under the hood of your favorite brands, made possible by Mountain. It's March 23rd, and I'm your host, Director of Insider Intelligence, Marketing, and Commerce Briefings, Jeremy Goldman. And this is the show that gets inside brands and dives deep into one of their recent campaigns or discusses the ROI behind a new technology they've adopted. Today, we're talking with Ashley Ross. She's the Client Care Executive for Bank of America, where she's responsible for the overall client experience strategy across all of consumer and small business. Hey, Ashley.
Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, no, it's great to be with you. Here's what we have on deck for you today. First, a speed intro where we get to know our guest in 100 seconds or less. Then, tell me what you really think. We're yours truly and this week's guest to discuss a few stories and themes in the news that'll be highly relevant to marketers. And then we jump into this week's case study, how Bank of America builds its brand through a relentless dedication to customer experience. All right, Ashley. Time for our speed intro, where we get to know you and see how quickly you think on your feet. 100 seconds on the clock. Our producer, Victoria, will be timing you, and your time starts now. First off, what's your core mission at Bank of America?
Our core mission is to make our clients' financial lives better.
Okay, but how about your core mission specifically?
My core mission is to drive client experience improvements throughout consumer and small business organization here at Bank of America.
What's one thing about how you were in high school that your Bank of America team would never guess is true?
My Bank of America team would probably never guess that I was a cheerleader in high school.
Number one business leader you'd want to have coffee with?
Number one business leader I'd like to have coffee with? Ooh, that's a good one. I think probably one of the leaders who's been into space. So maybe Bezos or others.
You wake up and learn that the Earth will explode in 3 hours. What do you do with that time?
I tell everyone that I know and care about how much I love them.
I thought you were going to say that you were on this podcast. What is one company whose customer service you admire?
I love Amazon's customer service as well as Nordstrom.
Best talent of yours that has absolutely nothing to do with work.
I make fantastic balloon animals and was once mistaken for a former clown.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve is probably the sound of fingernails on a chalkboard.
And given that you live in Oklahoma, thoughts on Sonic Drive-In?
Oh, love the Sonic Drive-In.
That was the correct answer. Yes, I'm obsessed with Sonic. So if you said anything else, maybe it would be a very short interview. But that was fantastic. I feel like we've got a pretty decent sense of you now. And now it's time for Tell Me What You Really Think. This is the segment where I pick one or two stories in the news that'll be highly relevant to brand marketers and get our guests' perspective. So first off, Ashley, I wanted to ask you about something that we covered in our briefing product recently about how Amazon and other grocers are focused on customer experience in order to rank really highly with consumers. And one of the things that came out of this study it was, I believe, dunnhumby's 5th annual retailer preference index. It really showed that customer experience is one of the top things that people are looking at, specifically tied to groceries. And I'm curious what you think about that and, what your perspective on the piece was.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the takeaway, how it talked about digital prowess is really more important to customers these days than elements like price and quality, at least in the grocery space. And to me, what that really meant was it's all about digital convenience. And so while it is about their digital offering, it's really all about convenience. And so when I saw the article, they talked about how grocers that save their customers time really did well because that's such important to their clients. So I think the real takeaway there for me is we need to identify when clients want to change. We need to enact fast, because they talked about how That is what enables Amazon to be really successful, is that digital prowess enables them to really act fast and change as needed. And so to me, I think it's really all about digital convenience. It's not simply having a digital presence. It's not simply changing over time, but it's really about giving your clients that convenience that they need in their everyday lives.
Yeah, I think another thing that struck me about that was just thinking about personalization versus price. And the fact that people want to be spoken to in as much as possible at a one-to-one level, and, or at least make it feel like it's one-to-one, even though it isn't. And I know that's obviously very difficult, but it seems like that's something that people will actually, they will be loyal to you if you try that.
Totally. And Amazon is just so prevalent that when they do something well, like personalization, it sets the bar for all the companies and all industries, including banking. And so when you've got someone like Amazon who does it so well, it really influences clients' perceptions on every industry. And so I thought that was really an interesting takeaway about how that digital convenience is really a standout for them.
I saw that they were actually pulling away from a few things from a physical brick and mortar perspective, which was kind of sad, just because I have spoken to a lot of people who said, they have really great customer experiences in store. And for whatever reason, they had some of these bookstores that just didn't take off, or, maybe they want to reinvest in other aspects of their business model.
Yeah, I think it's really all about that balance, that omni-channel or that multiple channel balance, about having the presence physically where your clients need it, but also providing that digital convenience on an everyday basis as well.
So another one of the articles that I wanted to talk to you about was this Harris poll sponsored by Redpoint Global that said that just 26% of consumers consider brands to be delivering quote unquote excellent customer service and customer experiences. And I think 51% of marketers thought the same. So just marketers think that they're doing a great job and consumers are not so fast.
Yeah, that's a pretty big gap, right? It's a pretty big gap where the marketers think they're delivering great experiences, but the clients are really telling us otherwise. And for me, being in client experience and part of my job being to get client feedback, what really struck me is if there's that big a gap, we need to ask. We need to directly ask the clients how we're doing on delivering these experiences, so we know, and there's not that big of a perception gap. For me, there's a number of different ways that could be why there's such a big gap. One hypothesis that I have is what you talked about earlier, is around personalization. So if you ask a client, or customer, how is your experience? They're going to answer about them specifically, them very personally. What was their experience with the company? And if you ask a marketer about the experience, they might give you a general answer about the solutions they offer, about what they deliver to their quote unquote customers or clients. And so I think part of that gap could be related to personalization, because the customers are asking about their very individual personalized experience.
Well, I think another thing, and I know we're going to talk about this more during the case study portion, but I thought it was interesting that 55% said they feel unseen by the brands that they interact with, and 48% said they feel undervalued by those brands. And I'm wondering, that to me feels a little bit like, I love to quantify things, that feels a little bit like quote unquote mushy, to me. What does it really mean to be seen by a brand? How do you accomplish that?
I think it's about making sure you demonstrate that you know them. And, the part about being valued by them, I think it's about recognizing loyalty. I get a lot of client feedback, and very often the first thing it starts with is, I've been a Bank of America customer for 10 years, or I've been a Bank of America customer for 15 years. And customers are proud of their relationship they've built with companies over time. And so for me, the concept of being seen is demonstrating that you know them, and, showing their value is demonstrating that you recognize their loyalty and you appreciate it. But you're right, those are not great stats overall for an industry, for sure.
Yeah, no, it was really kind of, striking when I saw that. We're going to take a quick word now from our sponsor, Mountain, and then we'll be right back.
As connected TV's viewership expands, so too does the opportunity for marketers to use it as an effective performance ad channel. Mountain Performance TV is built with that in mind. Their connected TV marketing software solution is tailor-made to drive highly qualified site traffic and deliver fully measurable conversions and revenue. And by running ads solely on premium streaming networks, you can rest assured that your ads are effective and brand safe. Visit mountain.com to learn more.
All right, now it's time for our brief case study, where we look at a recent brand campaign or deployment and discuss what went right and some lessons for next time. So first off, Ashley, I was really curious and I thought it was really interesting how Bank of America kind of pivoted its service model and moved towards more of a self-service model during the pandemic. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Leveraging our industry-leading digital solutions that we invested in over the past couple of years was critical for us in the pandemic, while also really adapting our workforce to meet the clients where they are. So there was a lot of disruption during the pandemic to, in person, and we really had to rely on our supercharged digital platforms, which was great. It really wasn't about providing the newest, flashiest digital technology, but really being there to give them that convenience that they needed. And we really saw, just like many industries, a lot of customers who hadn't previously used digital start to adopt digital during the pandemic. And we added about 2 million digital clients last year for a total of about 54 million. So we really increased our growth there. But the other piece that I think is just as important is how we pivoted to meet our clients where they needed us. So for example, we had about 15,000 teammates during the pandemic that we reskilled into high demand jobs so we could meet the clients where they needed us to. So for example, some of our teammates who were working in branches that were temporarily closed were reskilled and we're now helping clients over the telephone. And so that ability to pivot our people as well as leverage our digital capabilities that we built was something that, really helped us deliver for our clients during the pandemic.
And obviously you guys are a business. You even have the word bank in your name. I mean, what were some of the results of that pivot? Because obviously these things have to pay for themselves. And I know you're looking very closely at some of the metrics. I mean, how much did this cost? What was the ROI? Anything like that you can share would be great.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We were really kind of maniacally watching the feedback on a day-to-day basis during the pandemic to look for places where we could adapt and change. And interestingly, our client experience numbers, which we track on a daily ongoing basis, they hit a high in the midst of the pandemic. And that was really in turn due to a lot of the capabilities that I just mentioned, where, we pivoted our people to be there for our clients as well as our digital platforms. And so we saw that benefit in our internal metrics, but we also did receive it in some industry recognition as well. J.D. Power published a study in June of 2021 about ranking banks and other financial institutions on providing financial health and advice to clients. And that included surveying the clients and asking how we did. And so, both that industry recognition where we were ranked number one for that, as well as looking at our internal metrics, really helped us quantify that we were heading in the right direction.
No, that's great. It's interesting because this is something that I've seen a lot of CX professionals kind of struggle with, is figuring out how to combine leveraging technology to better serve customers with that personal touch. Because in some ways, I've seen some companies that they implement great technology, but then it almost looks like they're trying to make human beings obsolete and not pay for them. And then that has a negative halo effect to the brand. So how do you do both of those at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. They are complementary and they have to work together and give our clients the right choice. So the digital tools really, have to be personalized and not one size fits all. And so, clients expect not only that the digital tools will be personalized, but that there's a person there who can help them with their more complex needs or advise them longer term on their goals. And so one thing that I like to think about is, clients always expect brands to say, people like you often need this, people like you. But customers are really expecting us to take it to the next level and say, specifically you. This is specifically you, what, we know you and what you need. And so I think you've got the digital tools that need to be able to do that very directly. Give me, Ashley, my information, my routing number, my help digitally if I want it, but then also be able to talk to a specialist who can guide me and assist me and give me advice One example that we have that I like is around Life Plan. And Life Plan is a tool that enables you to set your own personalized spending and budget goals. And you can do that online, on your phone, on your own time. But then you can also meet with our specialists to review your life plan and goals and to get more personalized advice. So to your point about that, they really have to complement each other. And so the digital experience can pivot right into the personalized experience with the specialist in our branches or over the phone.
So how have you built better client feedback tools to build a stronger brand? Because I imagine you launch all of these new things, like you were just a perfect example of what you were just talking about. And I'm sure you want to figure out how you can make it better. What do people think about how you're doing in general? How do you build out that tool set and think about kind of what channels you're going to even accept feedback on?
Yeah, getting client feedback is a passion of mine and part of my mission and function on a day-to-day basis. And one of the things that we've done is invested heavily in a feedback tool that we call Voices, which is really a client survey feedback tool, which is real time. And we've got 70 different unique surveys that we use, and we change them over time. And we've gotten 50 million survey responses since we launched the program about 4 years ago. And we got about almost 14 million last year in 2021. And this survey program, covers all the different channels clients could interact with us, such as in the branch or over the phone or on their mobile app. And the piece that really makes it work for us is the teammates who assist the clients directly connect into this feedback tool. And so 60,000 people who serve our customers every day know exactly how they did and what the customers are saying about their interactions with them. So every single frontline associate can see that feedback from our clients on a day-to-day basis in real time.
It still seems difficult, though, to make sense of so much customer feedback, right? I mean, that's copious. That's a lot of different feedback that comes in a lot of different forms. So, I mean, what's your secret? It really is kind of like a secret to try to figure out how you can actually consolidate this and make sense of it and make it actionable.
Yes, that last part, make it actionable, is critical for sure. So we did invest a lot of time and energy to get our data systems to be consolidated so that all the client survey feedback is in one place. And we have text analytics tools that will analyze the words the customers say and group them into themes, tell us how they're changing over time. And so we have this sort of centralized intelligence to tell us and analyze what clients are saying. But just as important as that is getting that feedback in the hands of the people who can take action on it, to your point. So that ranges from the person who interacted with the client in the first place, whether that's at our financial center in branches or over the phone, so that they can adapt how they serve our customers on a day-to-day basis. And we also get it to hundreds of teams across the company who own the functionality that they're giving feedback on. So I just gave you the example of Life Plan. All the client feedback that references and talks about Life Plan goes to the product owners and the people who are responsible for developing the Life Plan. So we use a bunch of different ways to really look at it centrally and get some intelligence from analysis, route it to the people who actually serve the client, and route it to the people who are building the functionality for our customers on a day-to-day basis, and really get it into the hands of the right people.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think with, millions of data points, I mean, which channels do you amass the most feedback on? What are the ways where, where you're hearing the most things from customers?
Yeah, absolutely. We ask for it in pretty much all our channels. And so if you go onto our website or our mobile app or interact with us over the phone, you can be invited to complete a survey. But we also really look for other ways to engage our clients and hear their feedback, whether that is even social media. So we actually interact with clients who tag our Twitter handle and look for feedback there. We interact with them in online chat. And most recently, we enable the capability for clients to leave us their feedback via video. So they can just click a button, record a video on their phone, and tell us about their experience. And that just gives a different flavor to the feedback because you can see it, you can hear it, and they're talking instead of typing. And all of that goes right into our feedback engine so we can analyze it, just like I mentioned before, analyze it with all our analytics and get it into the hands of the right place.
Is there anything counterintuitive that you've learned in collecting all this feedback, like something that you wouldn't have guessed that has allowed you to take an action you might not have taken otherwise?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the pandemic and how digital really was propelled in the pandemic. So we certainly expected to see a lot of feedback on adoption of our digital tools, which we did. I think the piece that was most interesting to me personally was the feedback on our teammates and our associates. So if I could just kind of look back and paint a picture, our clients and all of our teammates who were serving the clients were in a time of disruption, a time of stress. There was a lot of change. There was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of tension. And, we had, as I mentioned, resources that were coming from different places in the company, getting retrained to serve clients. And it was just a lot of change. And the number one theme that we found from our analytics of the feedback was appreciation for our teammates and appreciation for our associates. Thank you so much to Ashley, who helped me today over the phone, who really, assured me in a time when I was feeling very vulnerable. Thank you to Ashley for helping me out and thinking about my spending and budgeting, you name it. But there was just a lot of real appreciation for our teammates. And that went a long way internally in our company for our teammates to see how much they were delivering for our clients in a time that was hard for them, at a time that was hard for clients. So I thought that was a little counterintuitive just because a lot of the dialogue has been about digital and the drive to digital and the adoption of digital. And that was certainly key. But that personal touch had just as much of an impact during that time as well.
And I think that just from some of the people that I speak to, sometimes there are consumers who can be a little bit cynical and say a company's investing in technology because they just want to, replace human beings and they want to make more money. And it's not always the case. It sometimes is. But I think that actually investing in your people and having them as a major component definitely makes sense. I wanted to ask you I know we have to let you go soon. What are the halo effects of all these investments? We do call this brand anatomy. So what impact has all of this investment had on Bank of America's brand reputation, if you can quantify that in any way?
You got it. So the foundation of our program is the client feedback and listening to that client feedback and making it enhancements over time. And our purpose is to make our clients' financial lives better. And those two things coming together really helped us build out our program around our clients' financial health. One of the things that's been, really exciting for us very recently is we are the first bank to be certified by J.D. Power in client satisfaction for how well we support their financial health. And that's great for our clients, so they know that that's our focus and our mission, but it's great for our brand as well, for everyone to see that it's a priority for us and we're the first bank to be certified as doing that well for our clients. And, that really, if I could, it really hits on just kind of 5 components of that program: how to simplify their finances, how to manage their money, how to leverage the experts, how to build the knowledge, and how to get help when needed. And so I think all of that investment in getting the feedback on how to improve our program has given us some good industry recognition with J.D. Power certification and other ways to really elevate our brand as well as build trust with our clients and customers.
I love it. It's a nice, succinct view of how you're using client feedback to improve your brand. And speaking of recognition, for our parting shot, what are 2 brands that you particularly admire that you draw inspiration from?
Well, that's a great question. I do think that Disney is a great brand for their focus on the client and the customer experience. And I have 2 kids and we have very memorable times at Disney. So that's one brand that I feel like really goes above and beyond. And then there's another brand, which is small and unknown. And it's a local Italian restaurant where I live. And their customer service is phenomenal. And, they make it so easy where I can get a text right before dinner time asking if they'd like for me to fulfill my family order. I look at it, I double click, they send it to me. And so I'm incredibly loyal. So I know the question is usually about big, prominent brands. And I really like to give a shout out to the kind of local institutions who are using tools and technology to really take their game to the next level.
Well, that's why we, have it very open-ended. Everybody defines it every which way. So, no, Ashley, this was really fantastic. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you at podcast@emarketer.com. I'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode of the Behind the Numbers Brand Anatomy. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the Behind the Numbers Daily, an eMarketer podcast made possible by Mountain.